We come now to verse 3 of the 8th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus is, as John reports the story, back in the temple. If the chronology is consistent, this story, which is somewhat disputed as to its chronology, would be taking place the day after the last day of the Feast of Tabernacles. And so Jesus back in the temple area early in the morning teaching, and people, of course, have gathered to hear what his instruction may be. And in a kind of plot to try to trap Jesus, we have the unfolding story now that begins to take on more dramatic color as we reach verse 3. Agusen, this is from ago, I lead. It's the present tense, so it adds a little bit of dramatic flair to the story. Third person plural, present active indicative, so they were leading, or they are leading literally. The postpositive death, the soft conjunction, but they were leading, and then the subject of the verb, hoi grammatais, the scribes, kai hoi pharisaioi, the Pharisees. Scribes don't make a lot of appearances in John's Gospel. Here we have them showing up, and the scribes generally functioning as kind of lawyers. And so the presence of these scribes would have made sense because, of course, they're aware of the sanctions that are part of the content of the law, especially the punishment that would be implied by the present situation, someone taken in adultery. So we have the Pharisees, these who hold themselves out as punctilious keepers of the law, and the scribes who are experts in the law, the two of them joining forces. So the scribes and the Pharisees are leading. And then gunaika. Gunaika, of course, is the word for woman. We get the word gynecology from that, and for various other words. The nominative form is gune. This is the feminine singular accusative of this noun, so they lead a woman. Epi moikeia, the word moikeia from the word for adultery, another noun. It's feminine singular dative, so it's the object of the preposition epi, and it would be rendered something like upon the act of. So the scribes and the Pharisees are leading a woman upon the act of adultery. And then katelemenein. This is from katalambino. Lambano means to take. Katalambino is to take down. It has a somewhat forceful word. It can actually suggest something like taking some down with a certain degree of greediness, let's say, or enthusiasm. This word at this point is the perfect passive participle. It's feminine singular accusative, and so it is referring to the woman who is in the accusative case, of course, here. The scribes and the Pharisees led the woman, and then this passive participle having been taken, the woman having been taken, and then we go back to this phrase here, epi moikeia, in the act of adultery. So the scribes and the Pharisees are leading this woman in the act of adultery, having been taken. Kai stesantes. This is from istemi. It means to stand or to make something to stand. This is the aorist active participle. It's the masculine plural nominative, and so it's referring back to the subject of the sentence itself. The scribes and the Pharisees make her stand. So they've brought the woman, taken her, and they make her stand now. The object of that verb is autein, her, in meso, in the midst. So the scribes and Pharisees lead the woman, having taken her in the very act of adultery, and they make her stand in the midst, of course, in the midst of this crowd that's been gathered to listen to Jesus. So it's a very dramatic and disruptive moment, of course. It has a certain degree of kind of almost unbelievable effrontery about it to bring this woman before Jesus in the midst of the conversation that he's having. But of course, the whole thing's a setup. It's taking place in the hope that somehow Jesus can be embarrassed as a result of the events that are going to be playing out here.